First of all, Jan, thank you for agreeing for a meeting to meet with me. I do appreciate it, and I wouldn't say it's a topic that I'm very wise on any financial matters. To tell you the truth, my salary is it lasts for the first week of the month, and then I need to squeeze it out for the rest of the month. And but I know it is quite an important topic, and there is countless of people out there on the verge of moving to New Zealand, UK, Canada, Australia, and the first thing that they do normally is they jump on YouTube and they pull up the first shopping video they can find, and they try and work out what is the living cost, how much is things like medical and all those things going to cost them, how can they make their own pennies last for that first few months when they are there. I've prepared a couple of questions, but before I dive into them, I just want to ask, because obviously I've given you some warning ahead of time. Is there anything that you think we need to start with? Any topics related to financial matters?
I work with, let me rather say good evening. I work with a lot of newcomers in New Zealand, and I think that the basic thing for any newcomer is just to sometimes just take time. I know a lot of people wants to do everything now, but take time. Things will happen for you, and as their finances start off, I mean, it's overwhelming. You come to a country that's got a total different monetary value, which is weirdly enough about 11 times the amount or less than what you have in your own country. So you got to make that mind shift as well between, for instance, the rand and wherever else you are going. Just to make that mind shift takes the most of the people about 6 months. And things do happen eventually for you in the financial field. So don't think you need everything on day one. Get your basics covered. Get somebody like me who know what the basics is, and get that covered for a startup. And then as you go on and as money becomes more available to you, or you earn more, or the wife starts working, or the husband starts working, whatever the case may be, add to what you have. Build up your portfolio, and that will get you. But don't try to do everything the very first day that you arrive.
What sort of basics are you referring to? Stuff like get transport sorted first, get lodging and all those sort of things.
There's a lot of things you must do. You must have a house, point one. Otherwise you can't live. And most of the people need a car, so they need to buy a car, or perhaps even two cars if both of them needs to travel far distances. And then the financial sides. I would say the most important thing for you in the new countries, point one, open up your bank account. Get your tax number sorted, and thereafter start with smaller things like, let's say for instance, life cover and rare disease. You get a lot of insurance, different insurance products. Don't try and take them all. It's going to cost you so much money. You're eventually just going to give it all up. Start with, let's say, life cover and some dreaded disease. And as time goes on, you can build up to disability. You can build up to income protections. Get your will sorted out, because that's also important if you die suddenly, because we don't know when our time is there. I mean, anything can happen. So.
And I mean, that's pretty much what we did in both countries where we worked in. You get there. So let's say, for instance, the UK, you get there. You start off with a national insurance number. You get that. You get your tax number. Then you start working. You start earning money, and then you need to sort of decide where everything's going to. Now, one thing that I've learned between the UK and Australia is that the financial systems for both countries are very different. Where in the UK they'll charge you income tax, council tax. You're not allowed to drive anything without insurance. All those things that you need to budget beforehand before you can even start thinking about, right, I probably need to go buy food. In Australia, and I know New Zealand is very similar, they don't insist that you pay all those additional things, for instance, but things like your life cover, like you said, is something I personally got very early, because my biggest fear was, if anything should happen to me, I've got a family of three kids, my wife. What is going to happen to them? Are they going to be forced to go back to South Africa, where they've pretty much got a support structure? absolutely not. I don't want that for them. I want them to have a backbone to fall on. So that's like a couple of prerequisites that I've in myself insisted that I get. And I absolutely agree. You're 100% right there.
Yeah, I see where you come from. It's important that we've done this whole massive shift from one continent to another continent, or an island in my case, and it's so much money just to arrive here. I don't want my wife and kids to go back.
No.
I've enjoyed my life from the moment I stepped off the airplane. I said, "That's me."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. There's no going back. I mean, something that you said about making the mind shift, that was pretty hard. I mean, I remember walking into Tesco's, and I still did the same thing, going into Woolies and stuff in Australia, where you'd buy anything and you'll do the conversion. You're like, oh, don't. You're gonna go crazy. Don't do the conversion. Just don't. And sure enough, with time, you eventually adapt and you climatize in a sense, especially when you start earning. That's one thing that I've learned. The moment you start earning, you start becoming local. Yeah. Is there anything else you would like to you think that South Africans should know? You've got an idea of the questions that's coming, so if you're happy, then I'll dive straight into those.
Just go on into them.
Right, great. This specific video, I've decided to make a slideshow, so it's nothing fancy. I've just got the questions on there for a bit of diversity. So I'm gonna share my screen for a second, and there we go. Right, all nice and
right.
Right, question number 1. Oh, that's not it. Let me just move this little video out of the way. So, what are the key differences between the financial regulations and tax laws in South Africa and New Zealand?
Well, the key difference between financial regulations, I think New Zealand is probably a bit looser run. And then your normal stuff like life covers and those type of things are a bit cheaper than in South Africa. They don't need to contend with crime as much as South Africa has to work that into the price as well as the end of the day.
Yeah.
The major tax laws between South Africa and New Zealand, I don't really want to really go into that. I'm not a tax practitioner, but just one or two small things is if you leave South Africa and you've still got money in retirement annuities or those type of things, you have to wait for 3 years before you can move that over to your new country, being thus New Zealand or so. But you can bring that money into New Zealand without any real without having to pay any real tax about that.
What about fees, like just transfer fees or stuff like that? What sort of fees can they be expecting?
The fees in South Africa from transferring amounts of money over from there, it's about 400 Rand, and once it arrives in New Zealand, it's about $30.
So 400 Rands for any amount, or is that just one lump sum?
Basically per lump sum, yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's 40 Rands, New Zealand dollars. What's the conversion on that?
So 400 Rands about, about 50. 400 Rands is about $30 to $35, yeah.
Not bad. All right. Right. Question number 2. What are the best investment options available in New Zealand for someone with risk profile and financial goals?
The main thing would be for what are you saving for? I mean, any investment, people tell me, I'm just saving. That's a good idea, but what are you saving for? Because I always try to find out what is the period of time you have to save. That differs between people. If you are going to save for a house, but you're not earning a lot of money, it could be that you are saving for the next 10 years. But if you want to save for a small deposit for a car, that could be within 1 year. And all depends on where you put this money at the end of the day. New Zealand is quite a, I want to use a good word here. It's an easygoing country. They don't have tons and tons of different funds and different ways of investing. You can either go into a stock portfolio and then get a stockbroker to run you full on stock portfolio, but then you've got to have some money behind you before they will even look at you.
Yeah.
Or you can come to somebody like me and we can run you a normal portfolio. And these portfolios is normal, low risk, medium risk, or high risk.
Right. So on the backbone of this, and I'm speaking from an Australian point of view. For instance, to buy a house in Australia is becoming exceptionally hard. It is. It's very difficult lately because of the increase in, I don't know, inflation and interest and all of those things. Now, a lot of people in Australia are now leaning on their saved super accounts, which is their retirement fund, in order to help them fund a deposit for a home.
Yep.
Say, for instance, you have a bit of investment tied up in the few available options in New Zealand. How difficult it is to lean on those on those funds if, for instance, you need something to help pay for a house deposit?
Let's just take a step back and go back to what the price of an average house in New Zealand is. That is roughly about, let's say, $1 million. Now, currently, you need a 20% deposit on that. That's $200,000.
Wow.
Now, you can go and think the average person earning about $80,000, how much of that is left over to be able to be saved? And that small amount going into a savings plan, and at the end of the day, they've got to save $200,000. How much of that is really going to be saved towards that? The other thing is, if you can use your KiwiSaver, but you can only get KiwiSaver when you are a resident. And that normally takes about 2 years from you arriving in New Zealand to become a resident, just on average. Some people become earlier, some later. But that is 3% of your salary and 3% of the company. So 6% of your salary goes towards KiwiSaver.
Yeah.
If you're earning $100,000 per year, you're only putting about $6,000 per year into a KiwiSaver. How many years before you get to $200,000, just about $100,000 house?
Especially on one income, and that's why a lot of households, both parents have to go to work. I mean, That's the only way you're going to buy a home.
And let's face it, stuff has become more expensive in New Zealand. I mean, your living cost, your food cost, vehicle cost, all of these has gone up really high in the past years. So both parents really need to work hard just to have a normal standard of living down here.
I think it's safe to say, even though that was sort of a normal trend, that COVID fast forwarded a lot of that. We're seeing it here. And I mean, I know very few people where both parents are not working. And even the friends that we know that did manage so far to buy a house, when they explain it to us, it sounds almost like it's better not to at this stage, not unless things are looking better in the foreseeable future, because even after paying your property for like 30 years, you've barely scratched the surface on what you actually owe on it. And what we found here in Australia, I'm not quite as screwed up with the regional areas of New Zealand, but it's almost better to buy regional and in the remote places than it is to buy around major metropolitan areas, like for instance Melbourne and Brisbane and those areas. Is it looking better in New Zealand in that case?
There's quite a few places in the South Island, your really smaller places where you can buy houses, let's say for 600,000 or around there, except if you are a decent handyman. But the rules and the regulations of what you can do and can't do in this country is totally different than in South Africa.
Yeah.
So except if you are a good handyman and you're allowed to do certain things, you can do it yourself. But a lot of the stuff you can, at the end of the day, really burn your fingers. You can do the thing, but you're not allowed to because you need a code of compliance and such things. Like if you move electricity, you must be an electrician to do that.
Yeah, well, that's the same thing here. I do. In my daytime job, I deal with electricians quite a bit, and they make a lot of money. So they're very busy.
Now you buy an old and dilapidated house for, let me say, 200 to 300,000 less than the norm, but you got to spend a heck of a lot of money just to get that house basically livable.
Yeah.
There's all these little things that you got to keep in mind. Now, I've started now doing a lot of work with my clients, and I told them, if one of the two people, if you can live off one salary, You take the other person's salary and you save the whole salary. I know you got to be stingy, but it can be done.
Yeah. So that was the next part I was getting to, because I really wanted to end this topic on a positive note. So tell us, is it possible?
It is possible, and I've worked with heaps of people who has come to me and said, "No, we'll be renting for the rest of our lives." And then I said, let's take your finances. Let's look at your finances. And let's say the husband was earning $120,000. I know not everybody's earning that, but this isn't a scenario that we had. The husband was earning $160,000 and the wife was earning just over $60,000. So they could live from his salary, but it was stingy living. And we took her salary and we piled that for 3 years into a savings account. And after 3 years, there was enough money to put down as a deposit.
Brilliant.
So, yep.
All right. Well, that's very good advice. And I'm how can I put it? It's good to know that it's not impossible, because it's already hard to buy a house in South Africa. It's hard in the UK where I've been in. It's not been any easier here, and I'm pretty sure New Zealand is no different. But it's good to know that based on a few certain principles, it is possible. And I personally, I believe if you follow that same principle in any country you live in, you will be able to purchase your dream home. Well, close to it if you can't purchase your dream home. Right, thanks for that. Let's go over to the next question. Right, what are the fees associated with managing my finances in New Zealand, and how do they compare to what I paid in South Africa? Now, the reason for this question is it is good advice if you just land in a new country to get a financial advisor. And you are indeed a financial advisor. And I would like you to speak from the heart and tell me a bit of what it is you offer and what you can offer people that just land in New Zealand.
What we offer from our side is your basic life cover, disability, trauma insurance type of things. And we've got a lot of companies that we can compare prices with for them and get them the best deal out there. The fees associated with that, should they buy this insurance, they're probably going to pay about between 60 and 70% of what they would have had paid for the same type of insurance in South Africa. It's a bit cheaper down here. And let's say my fees, I don't have fees. I don't charge people money just to tell them how to save money and so forth. I get paid by the companies a type of a commission. So the same in South Africa. I was paid a commission in South Africa and I'm paid a commission in New Zealand. But what we do from our side that is extra, that's up and above what the rest of the norm is, we provide our clients with free wills. It's quite important that they have a New Zealand will, as the South African will is based on the South African law, and it doesn't really will help them a lot in New Zealand. And normally they arrive down here with not a lot. Very few people come to New Zealand with a lot of money. So the bit that they do have, and a lot of people think, oh, we've got nothing, but they do have kids. What happens if both the mother and the father dies? What happens to those kids? We try and sort that riddle out for them. So, and then a further, how can I say? What we help them further with is to move money from South Africa to New Zealand. They've got a company in South Africa that helps us with that, but we just tie them up to this company. So,
yeah.
And then
so it's a very referral-like role.
Oh yeah.
Do you also, because this is one question people are going to be scanning this video for, is do you give advice regarding fees associated with immigration? Do you have a referral structure for that?
No, I've got 2 immigration advisors that I deal directly with.
Yeah.
But I can promise you, I only know what the one's fees are because I paid it the other day for my son. So yeah. I'm not worried about what fees they charge, but I do trust them because they do get back to people. They've got the same type of attitude that I have about life they've got towards their clients. So that's the reason why I would advise people to use these 2 people. But I do not give any advice on immigration. That's above my pay grade.
Fair enough. No, that's great. And if you don't know anything about it, I wouldn't want to take your advice anyway. I would definitely like the details of the two people that you trust to give immigration advice, and I will put it on the video so people can have a look and reach out to them. Thanks for that. That's great. I'm going to move on to the question number 4.
All right.
Right. So I'm building up to that final question.
Oh.
Are there any restrictions on bringing money into New Zealand, and what is the process for transferring funds between South Africa and New Zealand? We've answered that. We've covered that on the very first opening topic.
I just want to put out there's some myth going around. The norm in South Africa is 1.25 million rand you can bring over without any real questions being asked, and the myth going around is that's the only amount of money you can bring out. We bring out way more than that. It does take more work, and it does take all the government departments to give us the all clear, but the company that I use, they've brought out massive amounts of money for my clients, and so people should not look at the 1.25 million rand that the government is putting out there. That's like a travel allowance basically, so you can bring out much more money than that.
That's important, because a lot of people that's got various investments, including savings, including a home. Now, the average home at the moment in South Africa would probably be worth as much as 1.2 million. Now, you want to sell that home and take that money to come over, great. But what about your investments and your savings and those sort of things?
Oh yeah.
That information alone would put any person off from immigrating and chasing that better life, which is it's fantastic information to know that there is people out there that can help them move their assets and their hard-earned cash over, and they can do so in Afrikaans. They can do so in their own language. They can trust the person on the other side. That's great.
And this is an African company, so they can talk to them while they are still in South Africa, so it's in the same time zone.
Yeah.
Just something that a little tip from my side is open a bank account via the internet in New Zealand. That's probably
you can do that.
Way. Oh, yeah, you can do that, yeah, but it's probably the easiest way, because if you walk into a bank, they'll just tell you, I know we only work on appointments, come back in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
For 2 weeks, you don't have a bank account, it's hectic. And with this company in South Africa, we can help them to pay the money over to that bank account, even while you are still sitting in South Africa.
That's good information.
Yeah, so you just got to walk, once you are back in New Zealand, you just got to walk into the bank to verify who you are. They will give you what forms to bring. You just bring the forms, put it down, they verify who you are, and that's that. And
which bank is that in New Zealand?
Basically, Westpac I found is the easiest to open. It's just filling in one form, but presumably all the other banks. I'm with Westpac, that's why I know. But presumably all the other banks like ANZ and BNZ can also accommodate you on that. I haven't done that with them.
We've got ANZ in Australia, and I'm with them, and yeah, they're great.
Now, basically all the big banks in New Zealand is Australian banks, so
yeah. Thanks for that. That's great. Well, I like to keep these videos short, because I find the shorter they are, the greater the chance that people are actually going to watch them and learn something from them. So the next question is our final question, but it's not the end of the conversation. I would like to just have a bit of a discussion regarding your journey from South Africa to New Zealand. So question number 5, right? What steps should I take to protect my assets and investments in New Zealand, particularly in the event of unexpected circumstances such as illness or death, if I am on a working visa and not on a PR or a citizen? Now, PR, I don't know what's the correct term for New Zealand. We call it PR
PR here as well, yeah. I don't want to overstep the mark and go into the immigration side, but protecting your assets is protecting stuff with insurance. Take out insurance for your vehicles. It's not that expensive.
Yeah.
If you could think, geez, my car's only worth $3,000, but if you bump into somebody else and it's $100,000 car, it's a heck of a lot of fingers that's going to point to you and ask for money.
That's right.
Just keep that in mind. On the other side, on your own life, take out life cover. Take out trauma or dreaded disease type of products in New Zealand. That's about double your yearly salary. So if you're earning $60,000 $60,000, at least have $60,000 of trauma, or probably even up to $120,000, which is double the amount. That'll just help you if you're off for a period of time and you can't work, that there's at least money in your household, that you don't really have to go out and bake at the end of the day.
Yes.
For myself, normally stuff like trauma and these will take out about 14 days to pay out. And trauma is only paid out on the diagnosis of, so the doctor will diagnose you and say, oh, you've got cancer, for instance, and 14 days thereafter, we can pay that money out towards you if we've done everything right. So from my side, I love to get money back from the insurance companies for my clients. It's absolutely, it's like the end of a contract. So for me, I go flat out with that. And I don't charge a further fee to that the company's already paid me a commission right in the beginning. So I just think you should insure yourself and just get that done and look after yourself in New Zealand.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's great. Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I'll stop the share here. Financial matters is not always the funnest topic to cover, but I do believe it's an important topic, and it's something every South African should know. Is there any other advice you would like to give South Africans, especially those that are sitting right now in Cape Town or Johannesburg or wherever they've made the decision to come over? They now need to consider all the financial aspects. What advice can you give them?
Stephen, I just think before they do any harsh movements with money or decisions regarding insurance policies or what they're going to keep or what they're going to not keep, get hold of me. I can talk them through the whole process, even while they are in South Africa. I work a lot of nights. I work with the people called the early morning in South Africa, and we work either via WhatsApp call or Zoom or one of these things. And I tell them what to do with their stuff while they are still in South Africa. That helps them to negotiate the way and make it a bit easier for them to arrive in New Zealand and not be out of their depth when they arrive here. And so, we just try and help them get over this bridge to get over this side. So, yeah, and just don't give up. That's the big thing. Don't give up.
I'll include your details and your email address on the video, and I'll include it in the description and add a link to your website. So any of you out there that's not sure about the financial aspects of moving overseas, moving to New Zealand, you need assistance, Jan is your guy.